All right, this is going to be a very, very quick and brief introduction to Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Now, I've been studying and following this for a little under 2 years now, and I'm personally just being able to grasp the big picture of what's going on with cryptocurrency as it relates to politics, both US based as well as world based politics, as it relates to the current financial institutions that we have, and I'm just now starting to get a good grasp on it. So this introduction is not going to delve too deeply into all the ramifications of what Bitcoin is and what cryptocurrency is, and how it could potentially revolutionize our financial system as we know it. I just want to talk more about the fundamentals and I guess what makes Bitcoin valuable or what makes cryptocurrencies valuable, and why we as a nation as well as individuals should be paying attention to this. Basically, to understand Bitcoin, we have to talk a little bit about our current financial situation, um, and how things are working now and how that is in contrast to how things work with Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is the best example because it's the longest running cryptocurrency. It's the most popular cryptocurrency. So I'm just going to use that as an example to kind of encapsulate the value of all cryptocurrencies in general. So right now, in our current financial situation or system that we have in place, we have a lot of middlemen that are the keepers and the accountants of our personal wealth. So because we don't rely heavily on cash anymore, almost all of our transactions and all of our wealth is stored digitally in your bank account, or potentially with your credit card company, or maybe in like a company like PayPal. So these middlemen inevitably are taking a huge cut of any kind of transaction that is going on one way or another. On top of that, the banking system is doing something called fractional reserve banking, where when you have your money in your bank account, you would think that they're just keeping a record of, for instance, your paycheck came in, they're keeping a record of that paycheck, and they're basically holding that value in an account for you that you could go at any time and get cash for, or you could go at any time and transfer to a different person or write a check or pay a credit card. You'd think that's how it's worked, but actually what banks do is they do something called fractional reserve banking, which basically means they only have a fraction of your actual money available for you at any time. And because most people don't go to the bank all at the same time, which we call a bank run, where we would all go to the bank and say, hey, we need our money out right now. There's not even close to enough cash in the bank right now to service all of the bank members. If even a small percentage of everybody were to go to the bank, let's say in one given week, they wouldn't even be able to give you cash for that amount of people. So first of all, they do not have cash as a reserve. They do not have even that digital record of your money is actually not even there. It's only partially there, because what they do is when you put your money, let's say, into a savings account, and in some cases a checking account, they take your money while it's sitting there while you're waiting to spend it, and they put it out and they, air quotes, invest it. Now, some banks do a good job and they invest this properly and they show good returns. Some banks do more what would be closely related to gamble with your money. So you don't realize it, but a lot of banks and institutions are gambling with your money while it's sitting in your account. And because we don't all go to try to access the money at the same time, they're able to keep liquidity, which is the ability to move money in and out in a systematic way. And they can actually even move money before they pull it out of these different and quote unquote investments that they're doing. So that's our current financial system. A lot of middlemen, some of them doing some very shady stuff, some of them not. Some of them very beneficial, like credit card companies are beneficial as long as you're not racking up debt with your credit cards, because it makes it easier to transact. So we've got that current system. Now, where Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies take a different approach is they remove the middlemen totally. So with a cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, you are no longer relying on a bank or a credit card company or PayPal to be the custodian of your money, to hold your money, and as well as hold the value of what your money represents, like that digital number in their computer system. They hold that for you. With Bitcoin, it's actually held publicly. So how Bitcoin works is there are hundreds and thousands actually, and maybe hundreds of thousands of specially designed computers. They are keeping the ledger of transactions that go on the Bitcoin network. So just like a bank, these computers, and there's thousands of them, have a ledger of all the transactions that have ever been done. And it's basically sending Bitcoin from me to you. That would go out to all these computers. These computers, um, I'll get into this in a second, but they mine and then they confirm that I in fact do have, let's say, half a Bitcoin, and I have it in my, as far as they look on their ledger and they say, yes, this Bitcoin address, which is my address, just like a checking account number, I have a Bitcoin address. The computers look, they say, yes, this is a valid attempt to send money. He does have the money. So the money goes out, and then the other person receives it in their account. And basically, we're able to transact financial value back and forth without a middleman. And all these computers do something called mining. And Bitcoin, it's called proof of work. And they basically are using cryptographic, the easiest way to explain it is puzzles. And these computers are specialized computers that solve very, very complicated mathematic puzzles to validate that they are a valid operator inside the network, I guess is the best way to say it. And then they take these, then they basically do the transaction for you. These computers that are not manned by any people, the only sense that people are manning these computers is they're providing these computers with electricity, okay? Then these computers run these algorithms automatically. And what happens is a computer will confirm it, and then you have another computer in the network that also confirms it, and you just have computer after computer after computer that are checking the ledger, the chart of all of our account information, like all of our transactions, to see who has what and who doesn't. Then next thing you know, there's hundreds of these computers that have all independently confirmed that this is a valid transaction, and then they allow the transaction to go through. So we're replacing centralized banks and centralized accounting systems with decentralized thousands of computers that are not doing anything except for running very complicated algorithms. That basically makes it difficult to fake a transaction. Let's say, like, if there was no complicated puzzle for these computers to solve, well, then I could just set up my computer to a false account of a ledger, like all of our records of our transactions that are being sent back and forth with Bitcoin. I could create even my computer, and I could create a false account that says I have hundreds of thousands of Bitcoins, and I could try to push that out to the greater network if it was just very easy for me to do, if I just had to click a button. But I can't. I have to have a specialized computer that solves a very complicated algorithm, which costs a lot of electricity. So these computers suck up electricity, which is an expense. So in order to confirm these transactions, you actually have to pay for electricity. Now, why are these people mining or verifying transactions? It's because every time a computer is the first person or the first computer to validate a transaction, meaning they solve the cryptographic puzzle first, they get a small reward of Bitcoins to their account. So they're being rewarded with Bitcoins for building these computers, for setting these computers up, and for running the very expensive electricity that it takes to run these high-powered computers. So their reward for securing the network by distributing computers out all over the world, thousands of computers, their reward is they get some Bitcoin as a reward. Okay, so this is the primary benefit that people see in cryptocurrencies, is that we no longer need a middleman to take a percentage of our transactions, and we also no longer need a middleman to be the custodian of our transactions, or of our ledger or of our account, right? We don't need the bank to hold all of our money any longer, because we can hold the value of our money inside of, let's say, Bitcoin as an example. Um, the value in that is there's a lot of people, and I think sometimes for good reason, that don't trust the banking system too much, especially with this fractional reserve banking that's going on, where they're gambling with our money, and a lot of other factors make people a little uneasy, at least for all of their wealth to be held inside the banking system, because in 2008, the banking system almost collapsed. I don't think we should forget about that. So this is what Bitcoin is. It is a permissionless, anybody can use it, decentralized, meaning nobody's really controlling it, though we can talk more in depth about that later. Um, Way to transact value back and forth throughout the world very inexpensively. For instance, if you want to send money to somebody in another country, you might use Western Union or some PayPal company or something like that to try to do that. And they're going to charge you a fee to make that transaction to go from United States dollars to the other currency. And then they have to go through the banking system, which is very expensive, especially when you're going overseas, and it costs a lot of money. With Bitcoin, you can do it very, very inexpensively, and especially with some of these other cryptocurrencies, which are just different variations of Bitcoin, different ways to do the same kind of thing, have lots of decentralized computers and or different ways to secure a ledger of transactions decentralized. All of, especially some of these other ones, not Bitcoin, but some of these newer cryptocurrencies can send money overseas for pennies. And then they can take it and spend that cryptocurrency. If their local community supports it, they can spend it there, or they can just convert it into their local currency. So that's the perceived value that a lot of people see in cryptocurrencies. There's more, much more. Like I said, 2 years of learning that I can't delve out in this short introduction. But I think the important point to make in this particular video is cryptocurrencies are extremely valuable, in my opinion. And if they're not extremely valuable, and if it's just my opinion or other people's opinion, someday they could 100% be extremely valuable at some point in the future. And that's why we as a community should keep our eye on this. Now, when it comes to Bitcoin, I am personally not a fan of directly investing in it, hoping that its price will go up. If you start looking into Bitcoin, you can see it has a fluctuating price because we have not decided the value of Bitcoin yet. So people are working out what is the value of Bitcoin. The price is going up and the price is going down, and it's all over the place because we just don't know how valuable is this thing for the world. Like, does the world want this ability to transfer money back and forth, or value back and forth without using the banks? Do we want that? Do we want to get away from credit cards and stuff like that? Do we want to be able to lend out money as a community? We could all take our cryptocurrencies easily, put them towards one person or company as a investment. So there's lots of cool things you can do with it. And the world right now is trying to figure out the value of it and the risks, because there definitely are some risks, and all that kind of stuff. And right now, we're in a very big discussion, and some may call it an argument, but let's just call it discussion about cryptocurrencies and how they're going to affect our world in the next couple years, guys. It's happening very, very fast. So that is cryptocurrencies in a nutshell. It's something that we should be paying attention to. It's something that could have potentially very high value, but I don't believe there's nothing necessarily wrong with buying it if you are just doing it for a long-term investment and you don't mind if it loses a lot of value. But I think more importantly is there's this huge industry developing around cryptocurrencies. And my favorite thing I heard about the California gold rush is that when the California gold rush was happening, these people were going across the country, risking their lives, making this very dangerous journey to end up in California. And then they're doing this very dangerous work of mining for gold in these mountains. And back then it was extremely dangerous. I mean, it's dangerous today, but back then it was even more dangerous. And they were putting their lives on the line just to get gold. But my favorite saying from back in that time is, you know who made the most money back then? Is the guys who were selling the shovels and all the equipment needed to mine this gold. And that is more my personal approach when it comes to the industry. Is I want less risky ways to profit from what's going on in the cryptocurrency industry. So I'm much less apt to trade or buy into a certain cryptocurrency, because as far as I'm concerned, all cryptocurrencies are still in testing. We don't know the true value. We don't know the security. We don't know a lot of things yet. But as soon as we do know that, which is coming in the next couple of years, when we can prove that this stuff is secure, we can prove that this stuff is valuable, it's the price of it's probably going to be astronomically high, whether it's Bitcoin or some other cryptocurrency. But there's going to be a huge industry all around it where you can profit from this new technological advancement for our society without being directly involved into it. So that's my approach to a lot of stuff when it comes to cryptocurrencies. Let's get involved in it, but let's do it in a safer manner where we are somehow earning income from the outskirts of cryptocurrency, either talking about it, providing services for it, um, information about it, all kinds of things where you can earn money without necessarily directly investing. And if we are going to directly invest into some type of cryptocurrency, it's got to be proven and it's got to be extremely safe, because right now it's just too volatile and risky, but there's still a ridiculous amount of money. Just imagine if you could have gotten in to the internet boom before the internet boom was a thing, and think about all the peripheral companies that made money because of the internet. And it's not necessarily because they bought into the dot-com bubble. It's because they eventually started to use the internet. Even after the dot-com bubble burst, they were able to utilize the internet in different ways and new ways that provided them with a lot of money, and they didn't have to be necessarily involved in the risk of the original dot-com bubble that burst. So that's kind of my approach to cryptocurrencies. But uh, I'll end it here. The bottom line with cryptocurrencies is there's a potential, and in my personal opinion, after 2 years of study, a very high potential that cryptocurrencies can revolutionize the world. And it doesn't have to be cryptocurrencies overtake the dollar or cryptocurrencies become the one world global currency. It doesn't have to be even remotely close to that type of activity or that type of volume. Even a teeny tiny percentage of the fiat, which is like US dollar, the Chinese yen, and all that kind of stuff, all these different country owned or country backed currencies, even if a small fraction of that ends up deriving out into the cryptocurrency space, it could be a massive amount of wealth that's transferred out of fiat currencies into cryptocurrencies. So it's something we should keep an eye on and something we continue to learn about. And my invitation to you is go ahead and get the Abra wallet for free, get some Bitcoin, see what it's like, send it to a friend, buy something with it, or save it up and invest it in the future. That's kind of my goal for now, is just get people's feet wet. And then we can talk about the political and technological and all these different aspects of cryptocurrency as we go along, because it's a big topic to learn, to understand fully, but it's definitely worth your time to just have a good basic knowledge of, at least. So that's kind of my spiel on Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, and just to get you thinking about it and maybe learning about it a little bit more. Because although it's not going to be the number one driving factor with what we do at Burst Nexus, it definitely is a huge opportunity for the Burst Nexus community to make money. So we don't want to ignore this one, because it's nothing like this has ever existed in human history, where such a powerful opportunity is in front of not just the United States or one country, the whole world. So we should keep our eye on it. All right, until next time, this is my little spiel on cryptocurrencies.